We're gonna go ahead and let this play. Alright, we have begun this case.
The grand end of the century great exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it. Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe had converged on Hyde Park, welcoming over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success. But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few are aware my friend Mr. Sholmes had a hand in unraveling the matter. For from the shadows, it was he who earnestly unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the great exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the Crystal Tower itself, brought the truth to light.
I don't know. I think when we all... Whoops.
We're here at the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people.
Packed with people. I like this guy who's talking. Anyway, I don't know. When you see a title called The Return of the Great Departed, what do you think? Especially when you all looked at the apprentice. He is now the masked apprentice instead of the masked disciple or whatever. So, yeah, it's kind of hard not to speculate a lot when this case came out.
The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment.
There he is! Look at him!
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world.
Oh, I love his voice. His English voice is really good.
Carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and take to the skies.
Like, it is exactly how I imagined his voice, like, tone-wise would be. It's perfect.
And today, we showcase even more advanced technology. A glimpse into the future. A world first. A demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine.
He's so excited. Oh, he's so cute, bless.
A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high voltage electricity and beamed to another location, whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before.
Look at him, he's so excited!
In but a few moments from now, this gentleman will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air, to arrive an instant later on the Crystal Tower behind you! Yes.
Oh my god, he's so good! So good!
Yes! Please, that's not what I wanted.
Oh my god, this guy is amazing. Whoever they got freaking for Benjamin, excuse me, Albert, is so good. The 22nd of October, 9:36 a.m. Sholmes' suite.
Bruno, are you listening?
Oh, sorry, what was that, Iris?
What's the matter with you? You've been miles away all morning. Did you like what I cooked for breakfast?
No, that's not it at all. What were we talking about again?
Today's paper. It's full of news about the Great Exhibition again.
So this is what happened when Naruhodo's on probation for several months. He gets depressed. And also, Susato is still not back. Yes. The Great Exhibition. I'd like to go sometime. Oh, shoot. I need to put Naruhodo in his DLC outfit. I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down.
Gee, I wonder why.
Don't you agree, Hurley?
Ginger pal Pertment. Did you say something, Iris? Oh, great, you're glum too.
Oh gosh, you're even more down.
You guys. Nah! When did you arrive, Mr. Naruhodo? I've been here for about a half an hour already. We had breakfast together. What? Why didn't you mention it before? I, thought you might have known I was here. You know, because breakfast? Iris is right. You're clearly lacking in vim. So much so that I didn't notice your presence. Ouch. Thanks. Of course, I could deduce the reason perfectly well with some simple observations. What? Let's see. Yes, for example, your tousled hair this morning, with all its unruly spikes. Clearly, it can be deduced before that. Let me stop you there, Mr. Sholmes, because I think I can see where this is going. My hair always looks like this. It always has. Ever since we first met, in fact. Oh, really? How interesting. It just doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Thanks again. It crossed my mind recently that it's been 6 months now.
6 months?
Since I was forbidden from working in court. So I've been wondering how much longer I'm going to be banned. Oof.
Oh, well, that would explain why you seem rather glum.
6 months is a long time!
Don't you agree, Hurley?
Sholmes! Did you say something, Iris? Back to moping. Iris is just like, stop moping around the house! I can't have both of you! What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He seems more down in the dumps than me.
I know, and the Great Exhibition has opened. You'd think he'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go to see it together?
I want to, of course I do, but I can't. Not for the time being. Why not? Why not? Why not? Because I'm a great detective after all. So you're embroiled in some tricky case that you can't be distracted from. Is that it?
I don't remember hearing that you're working on a case, Hurley.
I suppose I should try to find out what's going on. I suppose we should present the armband! Oh, Mr. Sholmes, about this. Shh, not another word. Ah, yes, I see. Is it the dog again? This would be a... Okay, it's the same line again. Alright, bye-bye! Bye-bye! Let's examine... stuff. I do love a good fire in the colder months. Watching the flames flickering and dancing about is just so very relaxing.
Cleaning out the chimney isn't so relaxing, though.
Thank you! I'm going to save that for later, so I can, like, oodles and oodles about the fact that he's perfect. He did so good! Thank you! No, getting covered in soot isn't my idea of fun.
You know, Hurley decided he was going to clean it out himself last year. But you can guess what happened, can't you? He got himself stuck inside the flute.
He's a very slim man, I admit, but there are limits to where a fully grown man can fit.
Now every time he dozes off by the fire, he has nightmares about it.
Ah, all these different pieces of evidence from cases that Mr. Sholmes has solved are very interesting.
The trouble is, Hurley forgets things so quickly. He never remembers why these things are relevant. The other day, for example, he saw the orange pips that were there and decided to plant them in the garden.
The orange pips are back. Pips?
Yes, they all sprouted now. We have 5 new little plants.
Oh, well, I don't know what case they're from, but... if Mr. Sholmes can get oranges to grow outside in England, he should change his profession. Yeah, this is not the climate for citrus. Last I checked, anyway. And this device is back. Hello. Every time I look at that machine, I can't help thinking what a monstrosity it is. What's it called again?
The Great and Ladyscope. It analyzes absolutely anything, you know?
It does seem incredible, and at the same time, incredibly useless.
Ah, but it's most impressive, doesn't it? So that makes it very useful.
How does that make it useful?
Because it means you can pawn it for lots of money. The pawnbroker always make idle remarks like, "What an incredible looking machine." So Hurley often takes it to the pawn shop when he's a little short.
It sounds like this thing pulls its weight around here more than I realize, by having its weight pulled around. Naruhodo! Books, papers, scientific implements. These shelves are stuffed to the gunnels. Mrs. Sato wouldn't be able to help herself if she were here. She can't stand mess.
Says he might not be able to stand mess, but she wouldn't dare touch those shelves.
Oh, why not?
Everything's in intricate balance. Hurley spends ages on it. If you were to touch even one thing, the whole lot would come tumbling down. Says he noticed it was a very delicate arrangement right from the outset.
You make it sound like a meeting of great minds. But the truth is, Mr. Sholmes just needs to tidy up. Stop making excuses for him. Ah yes, Mr. Sholmes' faithful musical companion. Wasn't his violin made by somebody famous?
Yes, it's the Stradivarius. I'm afraid you'd have to save up for 100 years before you can afford one, Bruno.
If I were to save up for 100 years, I wouldn't choose to buy a violin, personally.
Oh? What would you buy then?
And put on the spot. I really have no idea. I think I'll have to do it so I can find out. Naruhodo! Ah yes, this is where you note down ideas, isn't it, Iris? What's in the melting pot today? Huh. The blue carbuncle.
Yes, it's from a case of theft that Hurley solved ages ago. The theft of precious stone. A carbuncle is another name for a garnet, you see, especially if it's cut with a rounded top.
Oh, really? And this garnet was blue, was it?
Well, that's the thing. They're usually red. No blue garnets have ever been discovered.
Oh.
So who knows what the stolen gemstone actually was? That's the real mystery of the case.
A proper Herlockian conundrum, huh? There are so many different bottles up there on that charming little set of white shelves.
Oh, do be careful, Bruno. You mustn't try the contents of any of those bottles, even if you're hungry.
I wouldn't do something stupid like that. I'm not a child, you know.
Well, I wish I could say the same for Hurley. The other day he polished off a full bottle of one of my Accolades.
He what? How did he live?
He said he was hungry.
I'll be extra careful. I look forward to finding out what aroma your tea will have, Iris, every single day.
Ah, well, I infuse a different concoction of herbs from the garden every time, so it's never the same twice.
When you call it a concoction, it sounds more like a science experiment than something for tea time.
Oh yes, that's because different blends can have very different properties. Some calm you down, some make you feel jolly, some give you energy. Today's particular blend is something quite special, so you're really in for a treat.
That sounds ominous.
I can type with my eyes shut, you know.
I can believe it. When a deadline's approaching, you sound like a Gatling gun.
That reminds me of a dream I had the other day. It was such a funny one. It woke me, actually. I was typing for a whole hour in the pitch black, but I didn't make a single mistake.
That's incredible.
But then, when it got light, I found that there wasn't any paper in the machine. Now I wonder if I actually been typing at all.
I think you might have just fallen asleep on the job. Oh, I can't move. All right, we'll talk to you. Hi, Mr. Sholmes. Let's talk. Half a year ago now, I took on the defense of a young girl in a trial heard at the Old Bailey. What at first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at a London pawnbrokery turned out to be one part of a much more far-reaching plot that involved the British government. During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable, yet at the same time unforgivable mistake.
Words fail me. The situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo,
Yes, my lord.
I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial.
Of course, my lord. In the end, I had my right to represent people in court revoked. I was told I had to spend my time in research and study, so that's what I've been doing.
You have, haven't you, Bruno? Reading all those big fat tomes about British law up in your room, and the notes about Sholmes' old cases.
Brewing Iris's special blends of tea, fetching my daily bread for me. That sounds like chores. You've become something of a manservant around here. Start on the silverware next, Master Naruhodo. Please! Well, I'm thinking of going to ask the powers that be to reconsider. Specifically Lord Strongheart, at the British Supreme Court on Whitehall.
Lord Strongheart?
Ah, the delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favorite fellow. He's not mine either, but he's the man I have to talk to. He's the only one who can grant permission for me to start working in the courts again. I came to Britain to become the best lawyer I could, and I can't do that just sitting around here. Very valid. The whole of London has been swept up in this great exhibition, hasn't it?
The most advanced science, the most modern technology, the finer works of art, and feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things, and the world will be watching. And I'm going to stand up and stretch now. Oh, do you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of those lovely balloons.
Look down on? Do you mean those things? Oh, thanks for the follow! You mean those things that fly?
Yes, of course. They fly high in the sky and don't even need wings to do it. All you need is hot air.
But how? How does hot air have anything to do with flying? It makes no sense. Poor Naruhodo. I can't understand it at all.
That's true. Of a lot of new scientific discoveries, most people can't understand them at first. But in 100 years' time, all these things will just be common knowledge.
I suppose they might be.
Mind you, some of the science being demonstrated seems very questionable. Something went wrong on the open experimentation stage yesterday, apparently. There was a huge explosion. Still, I wish I'd seen it, though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scam experiments really are.
Iris! I would be like her too, says the innocent 10-year-old girl. Give me the gossip, man. See here, every page of this paper carries some article or other about the great exhibition. But the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That is my proper atmosphere. Yes, sure, I'm sure it is. Give me 1 second. Great Exhibition Paper, a newspaper containing various articles about the world-leading science and technology on show at the Great Exhibition being held. Shadows cast behind. Is that a metaphorical way of referring to the back page of the paper? Oh boy, you want us to look at the back of the page? Sure! Let's do it in a moment. Are you investigating a particularly tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes? You could say that, I suppose. Nothing more to add? That's not like you. What sort of case? Shh! Quiet, Mr. Naruhodo. We must not discuss it here. You never know who might be listening. What?
You're acting very strangely, Hurley.
What do you mean, Iris?
Well, usually, the more mysterious and complicated a case is, the better Hurley's mood. Is it really a case that's bothering you? Iris, please. You mustn't exercise your astute powers of observation and deduction on me without invitation. You do that to Naruhodo all the time. Remember what I always say. Put yourself in the shoes of the individual about whom you're making deductions. You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes. Naruhodo's just like, please. Never mind. Once I had a cup of tea, I must make my way at once to the crime scene. That was a deep sigh. Alright, well, let's look at the back of the thing. Let's read this thing, too, while we're at it. Every article on the front page is news about the Great Exhibition. Also, look, there's Benji! Public experiments to demonstrate brand new scientific ideas. Cultural exhibits from around the globe. Exhibits. It's also positive and hopeful about the coming century. We must all go to see it properly before too long. I can't examine Benji, though. Okay, this thing, though. So many glowing reports about the Great Exhibition, and everything that's going on here. Other than this rather gloomy-looking one, that is. Wait, what? What's the matter, Runo? I don't know, look at who's on the article! The Disciple and Baroque in HD. The Reaper attacked. That's Lord Van Zieks. This must be what Mr. Sholmes was talking about. Does he know any more, I wonder? I wonder indeed. I wonder indeed. Can we present it? Mr. Sholmes, about this. My dear fellow, without wishing to sound rude, I'm currently in the middle of a very important blink. Perhaps some other more convenient time? Is there a set time for your important blinks, or are they all in... Is there a set time for your important blinks, or are they an all-day affair? Just so I know. I'd never heard that dialogue, and that was amazing. And now people are walking behind me. Please hold. Okay, here we go. It says in the paper that Lord Van Zieks was attacked. That's terrible. You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bailey, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact. Yes, Prosecutor Baroque Van Zieks. They say that if the Reaper is the prosecutor in a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. Even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in his sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short. London's finest rogues always finds ways around the law. Will stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics as these cannot save them from the hands of the Reaper. As you've experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I've seen the Reaper's retribution at work. Many of these criminals rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die. Well, Soseki's fine, at least. If a leader among their fraternity is seen to have been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really, the capital has a never-ending supply of such scoundrels. So, do you mean Lord Van Zieks has been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time. He's quite an accomplished combatant, you know. He doesn't take these attacks lying down. Although, it seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time. Oh my goodness, is he alright then? Is Lord Van Zieks hurt? Bless Naruhodo caring. My dear fellow, how on earth would I know? Well, in the article here it says, as to what of Lord Van Zieks and his condition, all will be revealed in tomorrow's morning edition. Oh, great, thanks. It's like a cliffhanger for a Saturday morning cartoon. Ah, I see.
Well, we'll just have to be patient then. No, I can't wait until tomorrow. In that case, you shall have to inquire with somebody in the know. But who? Lord Strongheart, perhaps? Oh yeah, let's go talk to him. Why not Gregson? I don't know. If you're that intimidated by Strongheart anyway. Well, I must be leaving now. Yes, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes. Ha! You really are a shameless liar sometimes, my dear fellow. What? You seek to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? Well, you would be wasting your time. The thought hadn't crossed my mind, but now I'm wondering where you're going. Well then, see you later indeed. Listen to him. He's still laughing on his way out of the door. Holmes. Hey! Iris is all dressed up to go.
All right, Bruno, let's get going.
Oh, Iris, what are you wearing? Her outfit is all in HD and you can see all the designs on it. So good! The stitchings!
I've got change to go to the great exhibition. You're going to take me.
What? But I was just about to go to the Supreme Court.
Oh, well that sounds fun too. You're going to take me there then.
Why are you aiming the gun at me? Alright, fine. Just lower that weapon, would you?
Of course. And at the Supreme Court, then we'll go see the great exhibition.
Iris. Okay, well first we're going to go upstairs. Because I gotta get the shovel spade conversation. 22nd October, Naruhodo's legal consultancy. Oh, can I talk to you here? What to do? Cool.
I'm so excited about the prospect of Naruhodo's Anything Consultancy opening for business again.
That's not what it's called. It's Naruhodo Legal Consultancy. I've done a lot of studying in these past 6 months, reading law texts and judicial precedents. I'm sure I'm a better lawyer now. I can't wait to start practicing again. Aww! Naruhodo is no longer scared of being a lawyer. He's like, I want to work!
Nothing's changed in here at all, though, has it? It's as though time has stood still in here since Susie went back to Japan.
Oh, you gotta bring up Susato. I wanted to keep it ready for Miss Susato, in case she was able to return to Britain at any point. So I've just left everything the way it was.
Oh, I see. Right. And there was me thinking it was because of the way you are, Runo. You know, never bothering to tidy up, I mean.
Iris, this isn't the time or the place to bring up my tidiness, or lack of it. Oh right, let me present this too. Boomp! Iris, have a quick look at this.
Your lawyer's armband? How many times have you shown me that, Runo?
Oh, sorry. It's very important to me, that's all. I don't feel complete somehow if I'm not wearing it.
Well, personally, I think you should try wrapping some different things around your arm from time to time.
Oh, really? Like what?
Perhaps a pretzel.
Why? A pretzel? I've never heard that word before. Oh, he doesn't know what a pretzel is. Oh.
Well, I think it's a kind of German defense lawyer symbol.
Iris! Interesting. I'll have to try wearing one sometime. Can I share this with Mark later? Because Jesus Christ. Iris! Please! The office spade. Now that Miss Sasato's gone, the shovelers aren't represented to correct me. Maybe I'll have to do it myself. That's not a spade, Mr. Naruhodo. It's a shovel.
So you're a spader, are you, Runo?
A spader?
What, you want to battle it out?
Alright, I'm not going to argue with a native English speaker who has some kind of gun. The kettle's gently simmering away there on top of the stove as usual. It was kind of Miss Sato to send that Japanese tea. You really like it, don't you, Iris? But for me, it's the sound of the stove and burbling kettle I like the most on biting winter mornings.
And it feels even cozier in here when the delightful Iris pours the tea for me. I really couldn't manage without that wonderful young girl. Oh, Runo, it's so sweet of you to say so.
Stop putting words in my mouth, please, Iris. Oh my goodness, there's so much. Miss Asato's tea set that she left here with me. I still think green tea is just too bitter, though. Thank goodness for sugar and milk. Mr. Sholmes certainly wasn't expecting the acrid taste that one time. I never heard anyone let out a scream like that before, or seen anyone fall down the stairs quite like that either. It always brings me a smile to my lips when I'm feeling a little down. Sholmes in pain?
Ah, well, do you know what that reminds me of? Today I gave you some black coffee when you weren't expecting it. You fell all the way down the stairs as well, didn't you, Runo?
Oof. Yes. Do you think we could try to forget that, please, Iris? That doesn't bring a smile to my lips at all. Oh my god. Now, at first glance, my desk here might look as though it's in a mess. However, it's not in a mess at all. Everything is exactly where I want it to be. But whenever Mrs. Sato looked at it, she'd put her hands on her hips and say, "Oh dear." Her way of saying that I should make it a more orderly and neat mess. I miss that. Oh.
You sound just like Hurley, you know? He says the same about his mess.
It's the kind of logic that transcends international borders, obviously. Ah yes, the Daruma doll I brought with me from Japan. I always intended to color the other eye once I'd become a fully fledged lawyer. But it's still winking at me, like it's trying to say, I can wait. Take as long as you need. Or maybe not. I'll just have to keep on doing the best I can, I suppose.
I could color it in for you, Runo. Just that one eye, is it?
No, it needs to be done with a bit of ceremony, Iris. It's not just a toy for coloring in, you know? The photograph of us all together that day. It makes me a little sad to look at it now, which is why I'd taken to lying it flat. But Mr. Sholmes righted it every single time, and I've grown accustomed to it. I hope we'll all be together again like that one day soon. Everything is depressing in here, except for the spade and shovel. Nothing particular of note. Well, okay, I picked the wrong thing, I guess. It's Mrs. Sato's desk. I suppose it won't be used now that she's gone back to Japan. It'll just have to wait here patiently for its old friend to return.
Even now, I sometimes find myself pouring a cup of tea for Susie by mistake.
Oh, you guys! That explains why I sometimes find a steaming cup on her desk here. It shocks me every time. But it's just one of your pranks, I see.
It's no prank. I miss her.
Naruhodo! Look at the prawns and the anemones gently swaying around in the tank. Regular cleaning, some food, and fresh water is all they need. And some conversation, of course. It seems like a lot of effort at first, but it was worth it. I'm starting to be able to tell what they're thinking. Funny to think that so many people in London had aquariums like this once, when they were in vogue. You never expect to find sea anemones in the middle of the capital. I think I'll have to name them soon.
Oh no, Runo's disappeared.
What?
I expected he's been eaten by Hurley.
I think I prefer it if you use your imagination more when naming the sea life. Hurley is into vor, understood. I never did see what Mrs. Sato's room looks like. I could go in now, of course, but I don't dare. They say a young maiden's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets. Although from the laughter I used to hear when you would visit, I imagine it's mainly sweet.
Oh, we used to have such fun in Susie's room. She told me all sorts of interesting things about your country, you know?
Okay, I think that's it. Alright, we're done. We're gonna move now. Let's go talk to the Lord Chief Justice, Mr. Strongheart. 22nd October, British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. It's been about 6 months now since I was last here. But some things never changed, like the sense of foreboding I always seem to feel in this place. And Iris is like, I'm just gonna read in the corner. It doesn't seem to be bothering Iris at all, though. She's happily reading over there.
Oh, I love this place. I always find so many interesting books here.
Of course, I was forgetting that you've been here before. The time we came here 6 months ago. When Susato-san was given the news that she was to return to Japan. Ah, I understand you wish to speak with me. Hello, sir! Oh, Lord Strongheart. I trust you've been keeping well? Let's see. Since you arrived and requested an audience, it's been 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 26 seconds. I've kept you waiting a while. My apologies. 4 hours?! Oh, no, not at all. I like nothing more than standing around staring into space. Naruhodo! Good to know. Good to know that doesn't appear to bother him at all. Male Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of London. He's the man who allowed me to start practicing as a defense lawyer when I arrived in Britain as a student. You need only savor the air for a moment in this grand office to understand his preeminent status. As you will be aware, the Grand Exhibition of London is now underway at last. We're extremely busy as a result, policing the grounds, guarding the new technologies, dealing with petty crime. And furthermore, as of next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium. Oh god, it has the same exact name. Great, the mouthful. Oh, I've never heard about that. Investigating authorities from 40 countries around the globe will be taking part, including from your own land. Forensic science is the future. The world must embrace it. I know, Emma's happy about that. As we're the hosting nation, I have much to do, and it is my highest priority if others must wait for my attention as a result. So be it. Well, it's nice to know where I stand. So, you wish to consult with me. Of course, I can very well imagine what this is about. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, my lord. I want to be allowed to start working as a defense lawyer again in court. That's what brought me here today. But actually, there's something else playing on my mind, as it happens.
Reno, just take a deep breath and come out with it.
Let me examine everything first, sir. Don't mind me.
Oh, I just had a great idea.
What is it?
We could hide inside these suits of armor and spy on the full Watchmaster to find out what he really likes, what he's really like.
I don't have much interest in what Lord Strongheart is really like, though. Actually, I kinda do.
Oh, please, it would be fun. You could be inside the left one and I'll go in the right.
You really want to have a go in a suit of armor, don't you?
Huh. Now you're making fun of me because I'm a child, aren't you?
I wasn't making fun of you at all. I like to have a go, too. You're just gonna spy on, like, Strongheart through those armor? God, these two. You couldn't read all these books even if you were reincarnated 3 times over, as a bookworm.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. So much reading material. I'm very envious. I've really been running out of things to read recently.
That's because you read so fast.
Perhaps little by little I could swap some of the books here with some of mine from home.
I don't see why not. You guys, Vortex is right there. No one would notice, or at least I wouldn't, even if I was reincarnated 3 times over as a librarian. I'm sure Vortex wouldn't notice either. The Lord Chief Justice's desk. When you look at that, there's no mistaking Lord Strongheart's authority is there.
But the light from that window behind is far too bright. It could be very bad for the eyes.
I hadn't thought of that. There are no curtains, that's for sure.
What's more important? Having a desk with an air of authority or having eyes that work?
I can't say I'd ever considered it. After all, My little office barely has any light to speak of, and I haven't really seen my desk in a while. Man, you need to clear out the dust, buddy. Anything else? Nope, wait, there was one more. Gotta examine the actual clock. Let's go. The cogs of the giant clock are keeping time as usual with their steady, rhythmical movement. It's really quite disturbing how little sound they make considering their massive size.
Someone very brilliant must have designed it, and whoever maintains it must be very talented too. But I'm not entirely convinced it's even a clock.
What? But what about the huge clock face that forms the window over there?
Some people just make machines that move for the fun of it, because they enjoy watching them. Rather like how Hurley makes his rambling deductions just for the fun of it. Even if the outcome isn't quite right.
Never mind all the trouble it gets others into along the way. Okay, that's everything. Let's present the armband. By the way, Lord Strongheart, about this. The symbol of a defense lawyer in the Japanese judiciary. Oh, I didn't expect you to know that. We never accept foreign students before first researching the legal systems of their home countries. But such trinkets are merely for show. The only true measure of your worth is your performance in court. Yes, right. Well, that's better than the last time where he's like, I don't care. Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this? The reports of the overwhelming success of the Great Exhibition. Of course. No, not that. The story on the back page. What story? The Reaper attacked. Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not?
Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he?
There's no need for concern. Lord Van Zieks would not be so easily dispatched, I assure you. Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know. Very well, if it interests you. It does, strangely. Because Naruhodo cares, okay? I actually came here today to ask for your permission. Go on. 6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked, and I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened, but the thing is, it made me understand what it really means to defend somebody under the rules of a foreign justice system. And I desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Ugh, here it comes. I'm sure you haven't forgotten your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriot. This was never your intended role. Well, that's true. The Japanese government actually sent my best friend on this study tour, not me. It should have been Kazuma. He was so determined to bring change to our own justice system at home. That was his calling. Great, here we go again. No! Why would you show this picture? I hate this game. If that tragic accident hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here in this office now. Mr. Asogi was my best friend, you see. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I have to fulfill his calling for him. His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling? Sorry? The mission with which that young law student was charged. What do you suppose it really was? Sir? What do you mean? Mission? He's not making any sense. Never mind. I've read all the reports you've submitted over the past 6 months. It's clear to me that you regret your actions and have been studiously obeying your revised instructions. Do you mean... As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain. Yay! Yay! A last! Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful news, Runo.
Yay! In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mark your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope. Of course, please, tell me more. Yes, tell me more, tell me more. All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Exhibition. And next month, the largest and most important of them will take place at last. You want to be a lumberjack? What? The International Forensic Science Symposium. It does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it? Exactly. That startled Iris. London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling rate. It's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible. Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it? Exactly. The future of policing.
Oh!
Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. Oh dear, that's alarming. Exactly. It's extremely alarming. Just startling Iris the whole time. If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure, the numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. And I can cite 12 solid arguments and 223 individual reasons to support my claim. Oh, really? Sorry? That's very specific, sir. By way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail every one now. No, sir? What?
Oh, how fascinating.
Oh boy. It all began 15 years ago. I was... No! Strongheart, sir! Sir! And that, it more or less sums up my feelings on the matter. In the simplest of terms, of course. Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division within Scotland Yard. That is my mission. Oh, right. Yes, that's wonderful. Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be. Please. Iris isn't paying attention at all. She's got her nose in another book now.
Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful?
No! I actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. To this memory, he's still listening to Starheart Memories. You described it as a curious affair. Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. Are you aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Exhibition yesterday? Oh, no.
Yes, I read about it. A professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment. Let me see. How was it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think.
Instantaneous kinesis? As in moving things with the click of a fingers?
That's right. It's just what my herbal blend needs. A dash of devil-may-care.
Wherever this serious incident was exactly, it's clearly captured Iris's imagination. It's an unfortunate business. A large explosion engulfed the public experimentation stage, and a man lost his life. A certain Mr. Odie Asman. Elder Menigan. I think that was his Japanese name. Wait, I have the book over here. His Japanese name is Elder Menigan, I believe. His name, I think, at the end of the day, means, like, shady. I can't give you the direct translation right now, of the meaning. Yeah, Elder Menigan. Mr. Odie Asman, which I think what it's supposed to sound like is odious man. An investor and a well-known figure in society. A large explosion.
A man died?
The man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Harebrain. There it is! No more Benjamin Dobinborough! It's now Albert Harebrain. He was detained immediately after the incident and is due to appear in court tomorrow. Speaking of Dobinborough, Benjamin Dobinborough. Benjamin more likely is probably from Benjamin Franklin. Dobinborough just means dirt poor. Like, that's a direct translation of Dobinborough. Dirt poor. On the charge of murder. What? Murder? If you intend to take on his defense, you should hurry to meet with him at the prison. There is very little time left for you to carry out any kind of investigation. The Great Exhibition. A scientific experiment gone wrong and... murder? I feel out of my depth before I even started.
We should go to the prison straight away then and try to meet with this German professor, don't you think?
Definitely. Ah yes, one more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper. Oh, with Lord Van Zieks? How? Fortunately, Lord Van Zieks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter. But that's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked, though? Do we know? It's related to events that occurred a month ago. A leader of one of the capital's criminal organizations was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zieks. But the man was acquitted. I've no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes. Large sums of money? A deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday. But you're not suggesting that was the work of the Reaper, surely? The victim's henchmen certainly seemed to think so. He was a man by the name of Asman, Mr. Odie Asman. Did you say Asman?
That's the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Exhibition.
Apparently Van Zieks was seeing our defense lawyers. Yes, known publicly as an investor, but in reality, the head of a significant criminal organization. Unbelievable. I wonder, could I ask you something, Lord Strongheart? Try me. Why do you use Lord Van Zieks as a prosecutor? All the criminals who manage to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom. And fearful of that fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zieks first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still, something's clearly going on here. I have Van Zieks work for the prosecution service for two reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials are nothing to do with him.
But that doesn't make sense. How can you explain the way so many have died if not by someone's hand?
Van Zieks may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper, but he is no killer. So he will continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. Huh. Thanks. I see Naruhodo is already sus. Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues may be starting to fidget. Just starting? 11 hours late? That's quite something. That meeting had already started when I arrived back here for this engagement with you. So, lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man. I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons. Oh, yes. Where would I find Lord Van Zieks now? I would assume he's at his office. Right. I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth. Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Harebrain's defense entirely in your hands. Of course, yes. Thank you very much, my lord. Harebrain. All right, he's gone. Where are we going first? All right, we're gonna go see Mr. Harebrain. Harebrain? I don't know, man. Like, I think that's just slightly better than calling him dirt poor, so... 22nd October, local prison, cell number 11. The warden said cell 11. That's this one.
Oh, there's someone curled up in a ball in the back corner. Look.
What's his name again? Professor Albert Harebrain, wasn't it? Excuse me, Professor Harebrain. Saying that is so funny. Oh, Benji, Albert, hi!
Who are you?
I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a lawyer! Was it something I said?
A lawyer, you say? Oh, would you be here about the experiment? Are you going to defend my hypothesis?
Your hypothesis? Sorry, I don't...
Yesterday's demonstration! That magnificent demonstration was... It was out and out success, by anyone's calculation. But despite that, no one listens. No lawyer believes in the science. When it's explained, they all leave at high velocity.
Sir, I'm not here to defend your hypothesis, I'm just saving your ass.
Oh.
Now's probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while, too. Hello, sir. How are you doing? Would you like me to present my armband?
Ah, fascinating, yes.
In Japan, where I come from, it's the symbol of a defense lawyer. Wearing it is very bracing, I find.
Your words make some sense to me, but they are entirely illogical.
What do you mean?
Well, for example, I find this white laboratory coat that I wear for my work very bracing too. However, in my case, there is a perfectly logical reason for that feeling.
Oh, really? What is it?
I purchased the wrong size by mistake. This one is too small for me. The sleeves, especially, are extremely bracing. I can barely move my wrist.
That's what you call logical, is it?
Of course, it's entirely logical. That's science, Mr. Naruhodo.
Albert! Honey! Oh, do you have anything to say about your friend? Or not?
Oh, how could this have happened?
You must feel awful. As well as a man losing his life, the Crystal Tower was greatly damaged too.
I know what happened. It must have been that? The day before the demonstration, I had my usual meal of frankfurters at the hotel restaurant. When I paid the bill, they gave me 3 shillings too much in change. But instead of saying anything, I just stuffed the coins in my pocket. They're still there now. It's divine retribution for my wrongdoing. That's what this is.
For a scientist, he has some very illogical anecdotes. Long and illogical. Man, it's so much. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday.
The papers have called it a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in an explosion, didn't he? Ah! Yes, you could interpret the results that way if you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense. The experiment was a failure, but at the same time, it was a great success.
You've lost me.
I saw it with my own eyes, right there in front of me. Mr. Asmund was spontaneously disassembled. Until then, everything was going exactly as my calculations had predicted. At that point, he should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis.
However, the machine exploded and Mr. Asman is, in fact, perished.
Yes, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure.
So what you're really saying is the large explosion that killed Mr. Asman was an accident, correct?
But the bigwigs had you arrested on suspicion of murder. I was responsible for a man's death. That is the immutable truth here. and for that I wish to be punished at once. But murder? Never in a million years. It was an accident, simply an accident.
I see.
Hurley and I were talking this morning, you know? He said the situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or murder.
How exactly? Bark, bark.
Well, if it really was an accident, then the professor's machine would be kept in protective custody.
On what grounds?
Ah, yes, it's newly established here in Britain. The special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
Oh my lord. There are so many long words in this case. That one passed me by. Me too, Naruhodo. That one passed me by too. Whew.
But if the case is treated as murder, then they'll say my machine was a murder weapon, and they'll be able to pour over it as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen.
I think that's the least of our concern right now, sir.
The machine must be protected from that at all costs. That's why it's imperative this whole incident is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial.
That's not the point. Ah, I see now. Also, I'd like to point out that, you know, there's always a history that the third cases of every Ace Attorney games tend to be the weakest ones. I find the ones in the Great Ace Attorney, both third cases, are probably their strongest cases, which is so funny to me. So in short, there was a terrible accident at the Great Exhibition Showground yesterday.
Yes! Or rather, no, the devil was in the details. Strictly speaking, there was a terrible explosion.
Sounds the same to me.
You were demonstrating super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, weren't you? How fascinating.
Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds.
So it must be possible, using sufficiently high voltage, to break those bonds and beam the particles through space. That's in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see? That's my amazing hypothesis.
Gosh, that's unimaginably high-level science. It's going over Naruhodo's head.
Oh, but dare to imagine it. Dare to dream of such incredible technology. Just think, one moment I could be here in the cell, and the next, I could be at the Great Exhibition again.
Well, yes, that would be incredible.
And the next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at a great Parisian theater, say. The possibilities are endless. The whole of our vast planet would be within reach.
So no more hiding in wardrobes on rocky seas for 50 days? Naruhodo!
I don't really see it like that.
What do you mean, Iris?
Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really seem vast anymore, would it? I think it would feel like it had shrunk.
My God, that's exactly right.
What are the implications? What does this mean? Oops, that's got the Professor Bunny Brain really worried by the look of it.
Clearly, this is yet another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose.
The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works. But without the practical demonstration, it means nothing. And then always the fly in the ointment.
You could have started... You know, I'm pretty sure animal testing was still legal back then. You could have started with small. Or, like, start with an inanimate object, like an apple.
Because practical demonstrations cost a lot of money that young scientists like you don't have.
That's exactly it, yes.
Hurley's always complaining about it. He says the government should invest more in science.
Boy, I feel this.
Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Asman.
The victim who died in yesterday's terrible accident, you mean? The full name of the man who died in yesterday's accident was Odi Asman, wasn't it? What exactly was your relationship with him?
He first visited me in my laboratory in Germany a year ago now. He said he wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I thanked my lucky stars.
I see. So you hadn't really known each other until then.
Money for scientific research. I'm so envious. As far as I was concerned, the man was an angel.
Too good to be true, sounds like it. Oh, really?
An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund a practical demonstration of my hypothesis for presentation at the Great Exhibition. And if that went well, I could expect additional financial support for my research from the British government. Mr. Asman provided me with money and an exceptional engineer. He produced a machine to my precise specifications. But then, your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion. As you can see, I owe everything to Mr. Asman. I would never, ever have thought of taking the man's life.
Well, he seems genuine enough. I don't think he's lying. What else? Can I present this again, or are you going to give me something else? Nope, you're not giving me anything else. I think this guy has more to say, but I think we need to move before he gives me anything else. So, we're gonna have to go to Mr. Van Zieks' office. I think some of us know what's waiting for us there. '26 October, prosecutor's office. His office in HD.
Ooh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office.
Yes, it appears so.
Ooh, it sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazing, deathly atmosphere.
Oh, is that? He's there! That hooded figure was so still, I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. So if you didn't watch me when I originally go through this, I nicknamed him Damien, and he's going to stay as Damien for now. So if ever I addressed him, he's Damien, because saying Mass Disciple or Mass Apprentice takes a while. Also, he's in HD. I'm gonna take a screenshot. Think. That. Hello, sir. He is as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well. I am. So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other? No punishment is taking place here. Oh. That's my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will. I didn't know you had an apprentice. He certainly wasn't there before! It must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. He's very able in combat, a requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? The Reaper. I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming, that is, such a fabled fiend generally inhabits our great courtrooms. Can I present my armband, sir? I've known you've seen this around my arm before, but what is it exactly? It's the mark of a defense lawyer. In Japan, at least. And what's your reason for showing it to a British prosecutor? Oh, well, I don't know, really. I can understand, at least. There's merit in reminding yourself of who helped you become what you are today. Oh. Hint, hint. But that's a personal matter. Something you may want to keep close at all times. Not something to flaunt. No, I suppose not. Thank you for understanding, though. Aw, they bonded over their badges. How sweet. Also, thanks for the Accolade, broke. Oh shit, I need to examine his office! Lord Strongheart said that the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack. True. Carried out by henchmen of Odi Asman's criminal organization. Excuse me. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably some hoped to kill me before that happened. Odi Asman. He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers. A global investor. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhand means, via his criminal activities.
And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper.
But the man got his competence in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances. It was the most unusual cause of death. I know about that. It was super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Mr. Asmund died when the demonstration on the public experiment stage ended in an enormous explosion. Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you? Well, no. That does seem a little far-fetched. If this man really is the fabled Reaper, then he has to be innocent of this particular death, at least.
It's strange how this has worked out, isn't it, Bruno? I mean, what with you taking on the professor's defense for the trial tomorrow?
What? You're going to be defending him? Yes, that's right. Though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest. Albert. Albert Hairbrain. That's right. Do you know him by any chance? Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together. Contemporary? Just say you're friends! You're...
What?
Just say you're friends, damn it! You loser. You and your fancy words. Assman? I mean, his first name is Odie. His last name's Assman. Clearly the pun is odious man, so that's how I'm reading it. Look at that fine collection of hollow chalices and bottles neatly lined up there. My hollow bottles are filled with the essence of the finest grapes from the finest vineyards I visit. And I personally oversee these chalices being made by the finest crystal craftsmen in the world.
And yet you throw them around in court like they were worthless.
Yes, because this imbecile is so unimaginably and repeatedly wide of the mark sometimes. Oh, it's my fault? Before you open your mouth next time, you should consider the poor artisans whose work you defy. You made the choice to throw chalices. I didn't do anything. Don't blame me. So, it's my fault? Silly me. How could I ever have thought otherwise? Sarcasm. Lord Van Zieks' desk. Look, it's so stylish.
And that's marble chest. And there's a marble chest beside it.
Chess. That's the Western version of our Japanese shogi game, isn't it? You know, I'm actually quite good at shogi problems.
Oh, really? You probably like chess problems in that case.
I'd love to challenge Lord Van Zieks sometime. To a bout of shogi problems.
If you only really want to challenge yourself, you can always do that at home.
Oh man, I want to see Baroque and Naruhodo play chess or shogi. That'd be cool. That portrait really dominates the room, doesn't it? Hello, sir! It's a very majestic outfit and pose. But sadly, whoever painted it didn't do a very good job of capturing Lord Van Zieks' facial features. Are you sure it's Van Zieks, you guys? Are you sure it's Baroque?
Yes, you're right. I mean, it's not far off, but the artist has exaggerated his subject's handsomeness, I think.
That reminds me. I heard Emperor Napoleon of France ordered artists to make him look more attractive when they painted him.
How vain. That's really not an attractive quality in a person, is it?
That portrait does not depict me. Surely that's immediately obvious. Oh, then who is it? None of your business. He's not telling you.
Ooh, look, it's a skilled model of the Great Exhibition Showground.
That's amazing. I wonder why it's here.
Perhaps he made it to take his mind off the sadness of being too busy to attend in person.
Or perhaps he's too embarrassed to queue up for a ticket. Wow, you guys! Surely it's obvious that I'm using it as an investigative aid. You Nipponese have no business painting others as overly reserved. Ugh. I really didn't think he'd overhear that. You guys are talking in loudly. Hello, sir. I'm gonna take another picture. Boink. Whoa! They were bats!
Yes, the Reaper's familiars, I expect.
Well, what about the mute man in the dark cloak? I thought he was the familiar. What is this line? Just not the flying kind. He just described Damien as a familiar. I'm gonna cry.
He must be a dear friend of Mr. Reaper then.
Well, he's a dear friend of somebody. I think the familiar idea is more likely. Oh my god, you guys! Scary though, either way. I'm crying. Look at all those ancient casts lining the wall there.
Cask in the Reaper's chamber. Or are they caskets?
Ooh! You don't think all those people who escaped conviction in court are lying inside them dead, do you? You guys! What ridiculous notions are going through your head, man? This is my collection of fine vintages. Oh, yes, of course. Thank you for clearing that up. Guys, don't leave these two alone in Baroque's room. Ever.
You and I were just musing to ourselves. Don't mind us, Mr. Reaper.
Please. I wouldn't if you hadn't invited yourself to my office to talk nonsense within my earshot. Hello, sir. It really looks like a punishment to me.
I've never seen someone sitting like that before.
He hasn't moved a muscle since we arrived. Do you think perhaps he's dead? These lines are awful!
If he was dead, Bruno, he wouldn't be sitting up, would he?
Well, anyway, dead or alive, he's not overly approachable, is he? I don't think he's going to talk to us. That's so unfortunate!
He's not dead.
Thank you, Iris. He's not dead indeed. Goodness gracious, this... I'm just sitting here like, man, I wonder if Naruhodo regrets everything he said later on. Like, seriously. I understand that Professor Hairbrain was from Germany, though. Hairbrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research. That's all. So you were students together. I was in Faculty of Law, of course, and he in Science. So our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along, though I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form. And with you, of all people, representing him. Ugh. Only if I make it out of this office alive. You're fine, Naruhodo. He's actually been charged with murder, it seems. Yes, I know. Because the prosecution will be handled by me. By you? But you made it sound as if you and the professor had been friends. We are friends, it's true. Then why would you do this?
If the Reaper is the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed.
What's Lord Van Zieks thinking? What are we thinking indeed? What do you mean by what you said before? If you like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean... I'm a crown prosecutor, and a mortal like any other. I'm no demigod.
But they've all died, haven't they? The people you prosecuted, I mean.
So Seki's still okay?
Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or an acquittal.
Those I prosecuted are the vilest wretches of our society. People who without question deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them. But that's not true of Mr. Natsumi, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all.
Nor was Ginny. In fact, she's ever so hardworking now.
I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, It was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work. Lord Strongheart said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way.
But you were attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true.
Slice of sashimi. The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, the number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially. Oh. It would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives. Do you mean to say... I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly and with honor.
But it's putting you in danger. You could be killed.
If that is my fate, let God decide. Baroque! This is not time for poetics, Lord Van Zieks. Sir, please. Lord Van Zieks, about the article in this paper. Ah yes, it seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. Look, he may not like people, but he doesn't want to see people dead. I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me.
It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had ran away, though.
Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them. But there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it? As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice. Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him? Your apprentice! Let's go. He is in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. So you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose.
Ah, like you are to Hurley then, Runo.
I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with the great detective. He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack. It looks like he's wearing some kind of mask? On Lord Strongheart's orders. Nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity. But why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual? Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There will be a good reason for his actions. I hope you're right. He stood up! He's looking at us! Hello! Sir! Sir! Oh my god, he's in HD! Look how gorgeous he is! The task is complete. Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs. Nice to meet you? Okay, bye. Back to work again. That was really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed, and yet somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter. Hello, DG Shoes. Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. Oh, I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway? Hmm? Oh no, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to... The way he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. It couldn't be. Masaka. I'm gonna drink water now, because that was a lot. Ah yes, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Oh, what's that? That Nipponese man. Is he faring well? Sorry? The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago. With the stoop, and the mustache, and the jitters. Mr. Natsume, you mean? do 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 do. Sorry. I'm sorry, this song just seems like kazooable.
I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Runo.
He's fine. Thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post, only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Yes, thank you for the advice. And for the conversation. I can't believe he's asking after Soseki-san. After a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried. Don't worry about it.
I never imagined that Mr. Reaver would be friends with a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books.
A mad scientist? You mean Professor Harebrain. Yes, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zieks, I think. Did I examine this? Okay, the swords are not example. Sir? Sir? You can't see me right now because I don't have a webcam, but I'm watching you. I'm watching you. Okay, we're out of here. Am I not going to the... Okay, I guess not. Hello! Benji! Albert, could you talk to us about, Mr. Baroque? I understand Lord Van Zieks is a friend of yours from your university days? Yes, that's right. He was studying laws while I was studying science. What was he like back then?
A good question. As unassuming, gentlemanly, and all-around nice fellow, really.
Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted, merciless prosecutor Baroque Van Zieks. What was he like when he was at a university?
Talk about a leading question, Runo. As I said, an unassuming and extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, he is the little darling of the...
What? Oh, I got to the line! I got spoiled by this!
After all, he is the little darling of the Van Zieks family, and with all its great aristocratic origins...
Little darling!
I didn't realize he had quite such a noble blood.
Well, I'm just little... little darling! Sorry! Oh, this localization is so much. Little darling!
It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learned what he'd become. The Reaper of the Bailey, no less.
Yes, that's right.
I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation.
Really? What sort of event?
I'm sorry, but I don't know anymore.
You don't know anymore?
I wasn't in the country at the time. I was in Germany already.
Oh, yes, of course. If he's heard all about the Reaper, I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zieks will be the prosecutor in court tomorrow. So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying? You had no intention to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work. Is that correct?
As correct as 2 squared is 4, I swear it. Yes, it's true that the man perished in the machine of my invention, so I know that I'm far from blameless in all this, but still, I would never use my discoveries, my inventions, to take a person's life, not in a centillion years. I'm a man of science, it's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? Science is the pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that, all my life.
Oh, this track! I'm afraid I don't know much about science or your theories. I'm not sure. I mean, I think the theme already works for what it is right now. But I do believe you. And I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I am a man of law. Yes, don't forget to get vaccinated, everybody, if you can. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please. God, I love this track. When I went to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage. None of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything. Thank you for that, Professor. And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court.
All right, Bruno. It's time. Time to visit the Great Exhibition.
Sorry?
Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose that's true. Time to investigate at last. You hang in there, Albert. We'll be back later. Finally, we're going to the exhibition! 22nd October, the Great Exhibition Grounds, foot of the Crystal Tower. Ugh, the showgrounds are a little too big for my liking. We've been walking around in dense crowds for 2 hours now, and I felt myself swooning 3 times.
There are a lot of people, aren't there? I've almost been trodden on 3 times, too.
Be careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let go of my hand. Oh, hold on tightly. We finally made it through the throngs, though, by the looks of it. Here we are, underneath the public experimentation stage where the explosion happened yesterday. Is it Gregson? What's that? I can hear voices from up on the stage. It sounds like an argument. I think this is Gregson and... Yep, right! I've had it with you this time. I'm warning you, I'll arrest you in a minute.
Oh, yeah? Go on then, Spectre. Give it a shot. You ain't got no evidence and you know it.
Wait, I know those voices.
You got a cheeky little mouth on you, young lady, but a night in the cells will teach you some manners.
Just try it, I dare ya, if you want that bag of chips rammed down your throat.
Gina!
Yoo-hoo! Grexy! What are you doing up there?
Ah! It's you! Here! You're here! Here you are! Your ladyship! How are you, your ladyship? I do hope you're well, your ladyship.
Does that make her 3 times a lady?
I'm not well at all. It's far too busy everywhere. I wanted to ride in a balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue.
Unbelievable. I'll have a word with you. I'll go and have a word for you at once, your ladyship. You'll be flying as high as a kite in no time, once I pull some strings for you.
Tobias Gregson, an inspector at Scotland Yard. Until recently, he was suspended from duty, but it would appear he's back in action now. He's actually quite well known, appearing as he does in the adventures of Sholmes. And for that reason, he can't say a word wrong to the story's author, Iris. He ran down those stairs. But there are limits, surely. And there should be.
Watch it, sunshine.
Sorry.
What gives, then? Don't tell me you're on this case.
Yes, I'm acting for the defense.
So we're here to investigate.
Ah, dear me. That's the situation, is it? Is it really that troubling?
A measly 5 bob? Is that all you got? You're a lawyer, ain't you? You could stand to carry a bit more copper around in your pockets, Mr. Naruhodo.
What? Hey, that's my last bit of spending money, that is.
You can have it back, but I'll have to charge you for all the bother. 3 bob.
This is Gina Lestrade, a pickpocket, or diver, born and bred in the East End of London. In the case that led to my own suspension 6 months ago. This is the young girl I was defending in court. God, she looks so good. Look at her in HD.
What's your problem, eh, Odo? Diver? Pickpocket? What's with all the name calling? You want a bag of chips rammed down your throat and all, do you?
I thought you were proud to be a diver, Gina. You were just arguing with Inspector Gregson about it, weren't you? I assume you've been up to your usual tricks here at the showground.
That ain't no way to talk to a lady, Odo. Half a year's long gone. People can change.
I would think at this... I also feel like Gina would have visited Baker Street once in a while, so Naruhodo would have figured it out.
I'm an apprentice now, learning to be a Scotland Yard detective. So you'll have to call me what everyone else does. It's Inspector Lestrade now.
Oh, she had numbers on her fake badge. 997. Inspector? That badge is homemade, surely.
That inspector part isn't entirely accurate. No one calls her that. For what it's worth, anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us.
What's that supposed to mean?
Right, well, I'll be back up top. You hold the fort down here, all right?
Right, sir.
This raises a lot of questions. Oh, he's here. Okay, well, I didn't realize he's in my profile. Well, Gina's not in here for me, so. Hi, Gina! How you doing? Would you like to look at my armband? Please don't steal it. This armband is proof, in Japan at least, that I'm a defense lawyer.
And this badge is proof that I'm a detective. So you're all gonna have to start calling me Inspector Lestrade.
In that case, you'll have to start calling me, well, anything but Odo.
I could call you Defendant Naruhodo if you like. But it doesn't really trip off the tongue.
No, it doesn't have a great ring to it, does it? Hi. How have you been, Gina? Let's talk. It was 8 months ago now that I first encountered Gina in connection with a case I was working on. At the time, she was living in the East End with a group of other orphans. She helped all of them survive by pickpocketing, but then she got embroiled in a murder. I had a lot of time to think in prison. I realized I couldn't go on like I was. The diving wasn't working out.
Oh, I'm so pleased to hear it, Jeannie. Well done.
So, you went from being a pickpocket to a detective.
You got it. Good, innit? Inspector Lestrade. Sounds like something out of a book, eh?
It does sound like something out of a book. You're funny. Talk about a sea change.
And then there's Iris's old man to think about.
Iris's father, you mean?
Yeah, I promised her, didn't I? I said I'd get all the police forces around the world to pull out all the stops looking for him.
Just a small promise, then. Nothing serious.
Oh, Jeannie, you're so sweet.
So anyway, that's how come I had to go at the... So anyway, that's how come I had a go at the test for Scotland Yard. Only trouble is, I don't read so well, do I? Just a small problem. Nothing serious.
And that's when Hurley approached Gregsy and asked for help. So the inspector said he'd take full responsibility for Jeannie and made her sort of apprentice.
Aw, Greggy! That was very magnanimous of Inspector Gregson. And brave.
Well, you know Hurley, he enjoys finding ways to make people do what he wants.
And he does! The great detective likes digging for dirt, in other words.
So, the long and short of it is, if you got questions about the case, you can ask Inspector Lestrade.
Right then, Inspector. Actually, there's still a big mystery surrounding Gina, isn't there?
Ooh, what, Runa? Right.
Well, 6 months ago, Gina was a defendant in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper. A trial in which she was found not guilty, and yet here she is still.
Come on, you're not still about that, are you? The Legend of the Reaper, whatever it's called. Cool, you don't half word, Otto.
Sorry if this is very hard for me to read for Gina. If I didn't half worry, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of you left.
It's like I told you before, ain't it? The Reaper's kind of like him upstairs, so he knows what I'm like on the inside. That I ain't really done nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong might be a stretching a point.
What about Mr. Natsumi in Japan? He's perfectly fine, isn't he?
Well, that's true. Perhaps the Reaper is more discerning than I thought.
Exactly! So I ain't worried. I'm totally fine. Cool, it was out of this world, it was. The brainy bloke pulled a bunch of levers on its machine, and suddenly it started billowing smoke. Then it just went pop. I ain't seen a better experiment here yet.
Sorry?
You mean you saw it, Genie? With your own eyes?
Yeah, of course. The boss is in charge here, ain't he? Of keeping everything running smooth, I mean. The boss being Inspector Gregson, I suppose. That's gonna take some getting used to.
So all I have to say is that I'm on duty and I can do whatever I want to. Get this, I was up in one of them flying balloons when it happened, watching it from above. No, you're so lucky, Genie. Maybe I should join Scotland Yard too.
Yeah, do it! You know how to put the boss in his place already, right, Iris? You'll have no trouble at all.
Then it's settled. When do I start?
Oh, Iris, no. You can't join Scotland Yard, Iris.
We'll see. Anyway, what I don't understand is this. If the machine exploded so spectacularly, how can Professor Bunnybrain still be claiming that his experiment was a success?
She's calling him Bunny Brains. Oh, right. Well, it was a success, in a way. It was? How can it have been? Yep, he's here, she's here. She is 18 years old in this time now. Surely after the whole machine blew up, no one could have called the experiment a success. I'm pretty sure she was 17 in the first game. Now she's 18. It's like I said, it did sort of work. I mean, yeah, there was a load of smoke and that whopping great bang. But where do you think they found the victim's body, eh? In the crystal tower over there. What? In the tower? You can see for yourself, can't ya? Up there above the scaffold.
Oh, where all the glass is broken, you mean?
Yeah, the cage what the victim got in to start with. Really did get beams through the air or whatever and landed all the way over there. So, you see, it did kind of work, didn't it? What? I don't believe it. I mean, I don't get the ins and outs of it, but anything's possible, right? With science. Oh, I tell you what, you can have this. It's a plan of the experiment they drew up for the yard. At the yard. Are you sure? Yeah, go on. I had 3 bob off yard before, so fair's fair. Yes, I didn't actually give that to you. Did I? Experiment sketch. A diagram showing the relative positions of Crystal Tower and Professor Harebrain's machine that exploded. Something Inspector Gregson said before seemed a little strange. For what it's worth, anyway, investigating is off the cards for all of us.
Yes, naughty old Gregsy ran off after that without explaining himself.
Oh, right, that. The boss said no one's allowed to investigate that weird machine what blew up yesterday.
Well, that's not fair. We're representing the defendant.
In that case, could you at least tell us what you've learned from your investigations? Nah, you're not getting it. We ain't allowed to investigate either. Why? What did the boss call him again? The Forensic Investigation Team, I think? Anyway, apart from them lot, no one's allowed to lay a finger on the scene. Bit funny, innit? So even Scotland Yard's own detectives can't investigate. Yes, I've never heard something like that before. I thought I could have a gander on the quiet, though, but the boss caught me at it.
You probably heard him giving me an earful about it before coming down here, didn't you? It's not bleeding fair.
I think you were giving him as much of an earful back as I remembered.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think it's all them chips what make him so stubborn. You say something to him, Otto. Go on, see if you can get through to him.
He's up on the platform above us, is he? Where the machine that exploded is.
We can try, can't we, Bruno? Trixie will listen to us.
Gracie will listen to you, Iris! The Crystal Tower. It's certainly an apt name. It was built to be the focal point of the exhibition, and it definitely is, being so tall and with all that glass. I can't imagine a building like this ever being erected in Japan.
There are lots of exhibits inside the tower as well, apparently. Of course, there's an observation deck, but there's also an art gallery, a zoo, and a museum. But I heard you have to queue for 3 hours just to get through the doors.
Well, at the moment, the shattered glass from the failed experiment may well be the biggest draw.
And thanks to that accident, the whole tower is shut down.
Suddenly, it's not the Crystal Tower anymore, but the Crystal Glass Shower.
Apparently, everyone's taking to the skies now to look down on the disaster area from above instead.
That explains the queue!
But there's a 3-hour queue to go up in the balloon now.
Londoners must be very patient people.
Oh look! What's this? A ripped piece of cloth.
Huh. It's not like any fabric I've ever seen before. It's very thick and stiff. It looks extremely durable.
It's canvas, I think, with some sort of rubber backing. And the edges appear to be a bit charred as well.
Maybe that means it had something to do with the explosion.
Let's make a note of it while Ginny's mid-yawn.
Piece of green cloth. A torn piece of canvas-like material backed with rubber that was found under the experimentation stage at the exhibition grounds. There are scorch marks at the edges. For some reason, the ground is damaged in this spot. Look. Almost as if there was a fire here or something.
Yes, if you look closely, there's some scattered ash and burnt embers too.
Well, I suppose there was a big explosion just above there. People probably wouldn't bat an eyelid at a small fire like this would have been.
I'm not sure we English are quite that laid back, Bruno.
It looks as though somebody dropped something behind the tree just there. Dropped or hid. Or was that Iris talking the first time? Sorry. What is this? Some part of the machine that exploded?
Maybe. It could have fallen from the platform above in the blast, perhaps.
Lord Chief Justice Heart Vortex. Lord Chief Justice Mellow Strongheart. Yeah, it kinda does. What's going on here? Oh, nothing. I think I'll hang on to this, just in case. Mysterious contraption. A very curious device found behind a tree under the experimentation stage at the exhibition grounds. Almost as if it had been hidden there deliberately. Yeah, we'll just take it from the crime scene, no big deal. No one's worried, right? Right. Okay, well, don't select the thing that I don't want again. That's where the cove ended up after his instant kinesis, or whatever they call it. Did, of course. And yet they're calling the experiment a success.
What's the wooden scaffold there for?
The coppers, our lads, set them up after the incident happened. They get the body down, I think. Don't know really. Didn't you help erect the scaffold then? Nah, lookout duty's more my thing. Wandering around the exhibition and keeping a lookout for the fun stuff. Mind Gregson doesn't hear you saying that, or he'll give you the boot. Gregson's fish and chips. I want fish and chips. It's incredible, though, isn't it? I mean, Could the victim really have bridged the gap by some sort of invisible kinesis? This platform must have been set up for the experiment, I suppose. It's very high up.
About 30 feet above the ground, apparently. That's what a policeman I just spoke to said.
I don't really understand feet very well. We don't use them in Japan. Do the metric system!
Oh, yes, sorry. It's about 9 meters.
It's funny, because, like, clearly the Britain used, like, inches and feet, and then eventually they transferred over to the metric system. I don't know when in history they did that, though.
But soon you'll have been in London a year, Bruno. It's time you got used to our measurements.
Only to not get used to it again. Yes, well... This thing is so tall, the spectators at the front would just have seen a wall or nothing else.
They probably thought they'd secured the best spot to watch from, only to be disappointed.
There's a saying in Japan, the darkest spot is right under the lighthouse. I feel like it probably applies here. Okay, well I was trying to get the hot air balloon, but I guess we can't pick the hot air balloon? Yes I can! I've been meaning to ask you for a while now, but what are those funny round blobs floating in the sky?
Oh, they're the flying balloons I've been talking about. I want to go up in one so much.
I've read about situations like this in a magazine about strange phenomena. Creatures from outer space coming in round, flying objects to attack Earth. Naruhodo!
What?
I suppose inhabitants of other planets are bound to be interested in the Great Exhibition. There are aliens at the Great Exhibition, guys. This is it, Iris. It's happening.
It's not. Don't worry. I'll explain it to you later over a nice cup of tea, Bruno.
He really thinks they're UFOs. Oh my god. Naruhodo, you're so cute. Why are you like this? I can't even. Hey, you want to see this thing? Gina, would you take a look at... Oh, where'd it go?
Hee, looking for this, Odo?
When did you do that?
I wonder if you got anything else to show me, eh? What do you reckon, eh?
Give that back first, please. Oh my goodness. He's so... I love him. I love Naruhodo. These stairs obviously lead to the stage above. We should go up there and investigate the exact spot where the experiment was being conducted. Woo! Look at this thing in HD. 22nd October, Great Exhibition Grounds, experimentation stage. So that's it, is it? The machine that blew up.
Oh, it must have been a magnificent explosion, and I've seen my fair share.
You've seen things like this before, you mean?
Of course. Hurley's always doing experiments that end in a bang. In fact, in his own words, explosions are the very essence of chemistry.
That might explain the smell of burning that frequently comes wafting up the stairs.
One time he made something that exploded with such force it took the roof off the building. I wish you'd been there to see it, Bruno.
No, it's hard to get too excited about that, given that I now live in the roof.
Well, anyway, that's enough about that. It's time to investigate.
Hello, Gregson. Look, Inspector Gregson's over there. He seems to be deep in thought about something, whilst eyeing up the machine carefully.
Really? He just looks confused to me.
Ba-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da. There are all sorts of strange buildings here in the Great Exhibition Grounds, aren't there? I seem to remember something similar being exhibited in Japan one time.
Oh, in your country, Bruno? I wish I could go and see it. I'd present a particularly steely samurai with the present of one of Hurley's stories I'd written especially.
Is that a reference to the Steel Samurai? Holy crap, if that is a reference to the Steel Samurai, I don't know what else it is.
And see if I can get Hurley into a jam against some Baritsu Nestor Ninja.
Jamming Ninja! Steel Samurai and Jamming Ninja. They're right here. Thanks, Iris! You might not find as many of those sorts of people around as you think.
Oh, well that's dull.
Ooh, but I do know a prosecutor with a Chomagi top knot I could introduce you to.
A Chomagi? Really? Do you think I could have any picture taken with him, do you?
Assuming he's recovered from the trim Kazuma gave him a year ago, yes. I don't think he recovered from that trim, unfortunately. What is that gigantic thing over there? It looks like an enormous water wheel.
Oh, that's a Ferris wheel. There'll be people riding inside those little cabins you can see.
Why?
Well, they rotate nicely and slowly, so it's a wonderful way to see surrounding scenery.
Wait, it's turning? But it looks completely still.
Yes, that's because it's turning so slowly. One complete revolution takes about half an hour.
If you were mad enough to go in one, it would be more fun to whiz around fast, don't you think?
I feel as though you might have just invented a new sort of ride there, Runo.
I was not expecting Steel Samurai and Jammin' Ninja references, but I'm here for that, thanks! Do-do-do-do-do. So those are people carrying balloons, dangling silently in the skies over London. I always thought the day would come when humans would discover how to fly. But I never imagined it would involve them being suspended from colorful floating Tamari handballs.
I'm sure it must feel amazing being up there among the clouds. Let's take a ride together, Runo, please.
If I'm being perfectly honest, I would like to try it. But without a cast iron guarantee that the thing won't plummet to the ground, I'm too scared.
Oh, well, in that case, I should tell you that what Hurley said. It's physically impossible for a flying balloon to plummet to the ground, as long as it doesn't explode.
That's reassuring. Yes, call me crazy, but I think that exploding part might play on my mind a little. It's ripped itself apart magnificently, didn't it?
Magnificently and mercilessly.
So someone stands in the middle of the machine to be disassembled and then beamed through the air.
Yes, beamed. Not blasted. That's the point.
Yes, that part's crucial, really. Is something like that even possible, though, Iris?
Oh, Runo, I'm just a child. How should I know?
A child when it suits you, you mean?
From what I can tell, I think if you were to pull this lever...
Stop! Don't touch that!
Ahaha! That was practically instantaneous kinesis the way you flew over there just now, Gregsy.
Please, your ladyship, I didn't mean to startle you, but I can't let you touch anything up here.
Sorry. Oh, so sorry. You can have some of my latest special blend to make up for it. Ah, wonderful. This stuff really is wonderful.
It's just like old times, this is. We're representing Professor Harebrained in court tomorrow, Inspector. So we should be allowed to examine the scene. Ha! Listen, Sunshine, even I'm not allowed to touch anything up here. It's that blasted special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act to blame. It's driving me potty. Oh, yes, that special dispensation. The professor mentioned that too. More red tape's all we need. I don't know what the government thinks it's playing at sometimes.
But we're allowed to just look around. A look, at least, aren't we?
Eh?
Surely that's all right, isn't it, Rexy?
She's trying to find a loophole.
Of course, your ladyship. Anything you say, your ladyship, but please don't get your dainty hands dirty, will you?
Don't worry. We wouldn't dream of touching anything, wouldn't we, Bruno?
She really knows how to get what she wants. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Okay, can we look at this properly? Considering how badly damaged everything is, Professor Harebrained was lucky to escape unscathed, I'd say. We should have a good look around the machine while we can, I think. Touch anything and I'll make sure I'll kill you before I get strung up myself, you hear? I won't touch anything, I promise. So please, spare a thought for your digestion. Anyway, do you really think this machine could actually disassemble people like the professor claims? He asked, looking totally incredulous. Give it a rest, Sunshine. If we were allowed to examine all this bleeding scrap metal, maybe we could answer that question. But we can't, can we?
Because of the annoying rules, you mean?
Exactly! The annoying, obstructive, flaming rules! Oh, look at the base of the machine there.
Oh yes, there's a tool of some kind poking through the wire mesh. It's a screwdriver, I think. Oh, isn't it a lovely one? The handle is in the shape of a capital letter A.
It is? Oh yes, you're right. What's the matter with you? Don't touch anything, I said! Touch anything and I'll make sure I'll kill you before I get strung up myself, I said! Yes, I understand. Sorry. I only touched it a teeny weeny bit. A teeny...
But Gregsy, I'm very curious about this screwdriver. Really very, very curious.
Of course, your ladyship. You're so clever, your ladyship. Fancy spotting something like this. But I'm afraid I can't let you have it.
But Bruno found it first.
I assure you I'll investigate it thoroughly. Oh, he's gonna check for us. He's gone off with it.
Huh. That was very mean, I'm afraid. Inspector Gregson is going to make a very clumsy and embarrassing mistake in the next month's installment now.
Poor Gregsy. Well, he just took that from us. That's unfortunate. Anything else for me to find up here? I don't think there's anything else. Oh, well, I can examine this again. That's amazing horn-shaped devices pointed towards the crystal tower. I suppose once people are disassembled by the machine, they're shot out of that thing to wherever they're going.
I don't think it was supposed to shoot anything, Bruno. It was set up to beam people to Crystal Tower, where they would be reconstructed in their original form.
Well, I don't like the look of it. If it wasn't amazing, if it wasn't as amazing as it looks, the accident wouldn't have happened in the first place, of course.
I suppose that's true, yes.
But nothing ever goes according to plan, does it? I don't think there's anything else for me to examine. Nothing else is popping up for me, so... Bum-bum, bum-bum, ba-da-da-da-da. Let's talk! Using high-voltage electricity to somehow disassemble a man's body. And then beamed across to the Crystal Tower. It's an extraordinary thing to attempt, especially in public. True, it was by far the most unusual of the experiments planned for the exhibition, mind. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised it was allowed. Same! Carrying out something so dangerous with so many spectators present, I mean. The government's doing everything it can to promote new science and technology at the moment. They're more worried about being ahead of the game than the odd spot of public safety infringements. Man, that's relatable. If they can be the first to develop some new technology, it makes Britain more powerful in the future, you see? Yes, I suppose that's true, in a way. So the powers that be are placing a heavy emphasis on scientists' rights at the moment.
What sort of rights?
They're making it so that any theories the brain have remain their legal property, as it were. Right through developing it into a practical idea and even going into production. Which is the infuriating reason us coppers are allowed to touch this crime scene. Because the new highfalutin Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act forbids it. Why is these words are so much? I'm so tired. I see now. The only people with permission to investigate here are from some brand new development at the yard. The Forensic Investigation Team, it's called. We've been regulated to keep guard. Yeah, this is definitely an early form of copyright. The Forensic Investigation Team.
Any old fool can see that this heap of scrap metal was a sham to begin with. But just because it says scientific equipment on the paperwork, we can't do a flaming thing with it.
Poor Greggsy. He's very head up, isn't he?
Sorry, Gregson. Remind me again, what's this new legal act that means we're not allowed to touch the scene here?
Are you having me at it, Sunshine? It's the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
Yes, I think Hurley mentioned that recently, with a real twinkle in his eyes as I remembered.
I'm sure he did, your ladyship. I'm sure he did. Passed especially for this great exhibition it was. All scientists have to do is present their ideas or inventions to some suits in the civil service. And if it's rubber stamped, that's a guaranteed of rights to maintain the invention's confidentiality.
What does that mean? What does that really mean?
Think about it. Think of all the world-changing new inventions on display every day at this exhibition. Although a good half of them are a load of cobblers, if you ask me, put forward by shammers like yourself.
Thanks for that. I didn't do anything, sir. I'm just a lawyer. I'm taking a drink of water.
Oh, I love how absurd some of the inventions here are. It's all so fun.
It might be fun to you, but a member of the force has to be present at every single demonstration. Can you imagine, eh? Hang science, that's what I say.
Oh, I don't think so. That sounds like my dream job.
You'd still think otherwise after spending a day guarding all these shammers, bogus contraptions.
But if they're all bogus, how can anyone hope to demonstrate them? There'd be no point.
Yeah, well, there is a point, exactly.
Sorry?
Thanks to another one of our government's bright ideas. If any theory or invention is deemed to show potential, the government hands out a research grant.
The scientist gets funding?
Exactly, and that's what they're all after. All these shammers coming far and wide to clog up Hyde Park. And who has to keep them all safe, eh? Who has to smile politely and welcome them? Us coppers, that's who. So you see why I say it now, can't you? Hang science! Hang it!
Not all science.
Oh, maybe I can see your point.
Apparently Professor Harebrain lives and works in Germany now, conducting his research.
That's right. Came back to Britain especially for the Great Exhibition, as I understand it. Probably after one of the government's research grants. Huh.
Actually, we learned from something else about the professor earlier today. About his time in further education. It turns out he was at a university with someone we both know. Lord Van Zieks.
What? What's that? That's news to me. But if Van Zieks man's the prosecution, then as the accused, the professor's fate is
sealed? Because the Reaper will get him one way or another.
Blimey, that man's beyond me. I don't know what goes on in that head of his. Talking of Van Zieks, this morning's paper ran the story of him being attacked. Read that?
Oh, yes. But Mr. Reaper is completely fine. Nothing to worry about.
Yes, right. Glad to hear it. Still, the Reaper, huh? How long's that business gonna keep up, I wonder?
What are you thinking about, sir? The victim of this case, the investor, Mr. Asman. He was another of the Reaper's victims, or so I heard.
There's a lot of foreshadowing here. Lord Baron Van Zieks is a top-class prosecutor, but even he can't always push the right verdict through. Sometimes justice can't win.
Yes, I've heard about jurors being bribed and evidence being falsified. And that's how the notion of the Reaper of the Bailey came about, isn't it?
Obviously, Scotland Yard suspected Van Zieks initially. We all assumed he was taking matters into his own hands if he failed to seal the deal in court.
Although the man himself denies that charge.
Well, we've done a very thorough investigation, and the conclusion we reached is that Lord Van Zieks is in no way related to the deaths of those people outside the courtroom. There's no question in my mind. I stake my reputation on it. I would.
But if that's true, then how do you explain it? All those defendants couldn't just have coincidentally died if nobody killed them.
I know that, but I can't explain it. You can't, Gregson. Really. It's a mystery, after all, isn't it? That's the whole point of the Reaper.
Professor Hairbrain mentioned something else. He said that at university, Lord Van Zieks was a totally different person. Easygoing and kind. And also a little darling. You what? He said that it was after they both graduated that something happened to change the man. Do you have any idea what it was? No clue. Really? Doubt! Doubt! Look, I've got my hands full watching over this frustrating crime scene. Why don't you go and make a nuisance of yourself elsewhere, eh? Right. Are you done here, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry? Isn't it about time you were leaving? Or rather, it is about time you were leaving. All right, Gregson is now calling him by his name, proper. That lot are here now.
That lot?
The forensics investigation team. They'll be giving me the heave-ho in a minute, too.
Oh dear, poor Grexie. Here, have another cup of my special blend to cheer you up.
Aw, thanks, Iris.
Ah, that hit the spot. Yep, hits it every time.
Well, at least I've seen the scene with my own eyes. Looks like this is as far as we're gonna get with our investigation here, at least.
I've been thinking. Hurley might know something, mightn't he?
About what?
About Mr. Reaper.
About what happened to Lord Van Zieks, you mean? Because it sounds like something very significant occurred after he graduated from the university. Something that completely changed his life. Maybe, but I have no idea where to find Mr. Sholmes at the moment. He's in the middle of some big case, isn't he?
Here, this is what you need.
What's this? Some kind of entrance ticket? Madame Tusspells. Is this supposed to mean something to me?
You don't know it? It's the most popular attraction in London at the moment.
Madame Roussaud! Madame Rozak! Conet Rozak or something, but they changed it to Tusspell.
It's very close to Baker Street, actually. We could go now if you like.
No, we don't have time to be for visiting attractions today, Iris. We have a big trial tomorrow.
But that's where Hurley is.
What? At this popular London attraction?
Yes.
How is it that you know where he is?
Hurley told me, but he told me to keep it a secret from you, Runo.
Iris, you're a mischievous person. Madame Tusspells. I don't see how it could be related to the case we're investigating here, but then stranger things have happened, and when they happen, Mr. Sholmes is usually at the heart of them. Alright, Greggy-san, how do we go back downstairs? I don't know how to go back downstairs. I just want to go back downstairs. Oh! Hi! Sir, you're just chilling over there. Hello! I didn't know you do that. Lord Van Zieks? Hi, sir!
I think he's ignoring you, Runo.
The prosecution and defense should avoid speaking outside of the courtroom as a rule. Could we not talk as What happens if your guys are off duty and just want to be acquainted? Come on! So if anyone is being rude here, it's most certainly the man in black there standing before us.
Oh, I see. Well, thank you for setting the record straight. Hee, did you see that? He spoke to me, Runo.
So, Lord Van Zieks, have you managed to visit the Great Exhibition yet?
He's definitely ignoring you.
Right. No niceties here either, then. Sorry, I was just wondering. Oh, he's gone. He has walked off somewhere. Okay. Bye, sir. Oh, okay. I guess we won't see Toby right now. Alright, we'll go to Madame Tusspells. Let's go. I need to do the step ladder thing in this place too. 22nd October, Madame Tusspells, Museums of Waxworks. Ooh, crime scenes in HD! What is this place? Look at all these terrifying scenes. But why are all the people so still? Guillotines, ruthless murderers. I know what I'll be dreaming about tonight. Oh no, poor Naruhodo.
They're all wax models. They're amazingly realistic, aren't they? What do you think, Runo? Shocked?
Wax models? Ah! I read about dead bodies in wax once in a magazine about strange phenomena. Depending on how corpses are kept after death, parts of them can turn into wax, apparently. It's called a adipocere.
Stop talking about creepy things like that, Runo. You're scaring me. Anyway, adipocere doesn't form readily, you know? It's only...
Whoa!
What now?
I've just remembered something else I read in another magazine about strange phenomena. You need to stop reading these magazines. There was an old lady, maybe a witch, who used to pour molten wax over corpse and put them on display.
None of the exhibits in here are real.
This is the worst place for Naruhodo to be.
They're all entirely man-made replicas.
They can't be. Do you really expect me to believe that? Just look at them. In HD.
Oh.
There's no way anybody could make models of people that are this realistic. And they're all such gruesome scenes. Except for that. Wait.
What is it?
Oh, no. I must be seeing things. There's an arm hanging out there. This is a long first day, by the way. Is this some infamous murderer?
Yes, called Jane the Ripper. Other victims were young women.
I knew it. You can't tell. You can tell by the way she's holding that knife. It's sure a sign of murder.
Well, yes.
Ah!
What's the matter, Runo?
I worked it out. I know what she's doing. She's trying to fill the bathtub with blood so she can have a soak in her victim's gore.
Not according to the information about the exhibit on the little board here. It doesn't mention anything about a bathtub.
Really?
Sorry, I don't think it's significant.
Naruhodo, you have a wild imagination. I still think it has to be there for a reason. Naruhodo, you're so much. I love you. Why is there just an arm? Is this an arm?
It looks like an arm, doesn't it? Maybe one of the Waxwork models has fallen over.
You don't think it could be the work of one of the mass murderers in here, do you?
Runo, stop scaring me.
Is it a wax arm or a real one?
Come on, you're always pointing that finger of yours in court. Poke that arm now and see how it feels.
Objection. That big heavy curtain is in a very prominent position, isn't it? I have a nasty feeling there's going to be something truly terrifying behind it.
Oh yes, that's the famous Tusspells special exhibit. It depicts one of England's most notorious killers. Do you want to pay the extra fee and have a look?
Pay more money? To be even more terrified? Ooh, let me think about that for a moment.
It was only a suggestion.
These models are so well made. I can tell what's a waxwork and what's a real human.
Or maybe all the exhibits are real people. And when it's closing time and all the visitors have gone home, they suddenly start moving about.
What, night at the museum? Ugh. Just thinking about it makes me wish it was closing time already, and I was on my way home. Alright, here's the ladder. So the first part is here. The second part will show up later.
Oh, that's a funny place for a little ladder. What is it? Is something wrong?
No, it's just that in Japanese, we have a totally different word for a ladder that folds in half like that.
We do in English too, you know. It's a step ladder, or just steps. So be careful making assumptions about other cultures, Runo. That's how wars are started.
I didn't realize stepladders were an international point of contention, but the writer makes an astute point. Oh my goodness, I need that dialogue. Yes, there's been online battles if it's the ladders or step ladders. I'm taking the picture of that. Ugh, is this an example of Western Sujigiri? Western Sujigiri.
I don't know what that is.
You know, when an unscrumptious samurai randomly attacks a passerby to test his sword.
I still don't know, no. But actually, a waxwork samurai would probably be hugely popular. Could you model it, do you think, Runo? Doing that Sujigiri thing you mentioned.
Well, I do have a sword, but I have no intention of testing how sharp it is on a human object. For now, at least. For now? What does that mean, Naruhodo? What do you mean for now? Don't touch that with people! It's the great detective, Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes was his own wax statue in here? Really?
Well, he is a world famous after all.
It's an uncanny resemblance, isn't it? It makes my skin crawl to look at it.
I know! But look, Runo, you can kick this Hurley and he doesn't move a muscle.
Oh dear God. You can't go around kicking the exhibits, Iris. Wait. It just moved, I'm sure. And not just a little bit either. Kick the Sherlock, or in this case, kick the Hurley.
Him? Really? Did it?
And look closely. There are beads of sweat on the face of this waxwork model. Is it a waxwork model? Naruhodo's getting spooked. Naruhodo's officially spooked. Shall we move on, Iris? Over there? Over there, look. There's a great murder scene to enjoy. Much more appealing.
Hold it!
Ah, Holmes, hold it! My dear fellow, I take exception to your recoiling in such a manner, as if you've seen something truly abhorrent. Mr. Sholmes! I knew it. Iris, what possessed you? I strictly forbade you from divulging my temporary waxwork secret to Mr. Naruhodo. Temporary waxwork? What do you mean? And that kick! Could you not have exercised a little more restraint? You winded me.
But Runo has something he needs to ask you.
A question.
And I thought you'd probably be getting bored too. So here we are.
Iris! Well, I can't deny that your timing was impeccable. A mere 2 minutes more being stationary like that. And my great brain, upon which all my success has been built, would have turned to wax. Thank goodness we arrived in time. Indeed, in many ways, the pair of you just saved the world from an unimaginable loss.
Oh, Hurley, you do like to talk nonsense, don't you?
He could know something, it's true, about Lord Van Zieks and what happened in the past to change him. Now that you're here, let's take our time. How can I be of assistance? For your luck, I'm suddenly quite taken with the idea of conversing. Oh, well, actually, I'm in quite a hurry. And if my eyes don't deceive me, I believe something is afoot within the walls of this very museum. A most fascinating case, if I'm not mistaken. Really? Moreover, I have a strong suspicion that is related to the matter about which you've come to me now. But how could it be? We shall speak again presently, my dear fellow. But for now, I must return to my work. What? Back to being a temporary waxwork exhibit? Okay. Let's talk. After I drink. Also, Dane, this is definitely a long first day. Note to be continues yet. This is almost as lengthy as, like, Case 5's final part of the trial, almost, it feels like. What is this place?
Madame Tusspells came to London from France 3 years ago, I understand. Since she's opened this little waxwork museum last year, it's enjoyed great popularity in London.
There are museums like this in Japan too, but these displays are something else. I mean, they aren't made from actual real people, are they?
The extreme realism of these waxwork models is a particular secret of the Tusspells family, they say. They earned renown during the French Revolution for waxworks of victims of the guillotine.
Ugh, that sounds grim.
The gruesome scenes were portrayed with such realism in the expressions of the faces of the condemned. Apparently, the sculptor would make the models directly from the corpses, right there at the site of the executions.
That really turns my stomach. Me too.
That's just one of several legends about the Tusspells family. Whether there's any truth in it, I couldn't say. But anyway, this museum houses models of famous people from all over the globe. Nevertheless, the most popular area of the museum by quite some margin, is this House of Horrors.
House of Horrors?
Of course, visitor numbers are dwindling now as a result of the Great Exhibition. But people usually flock here to see the exhibit of some of London's most vile criminals at their gruesome work. Naturally, most of the miscreants portrayed here were sent to the gallows. So they're even stiffer now than the models of them.
Have you heard of poor taste?
My dear fellow, the public live for poor taste. They yearn to be shocked.
So, the hideous exhibit here are...
They're all portrayals of real events that actually took place.
Is it just me, or did the temperature in here just seem to drop?
Anyway, I advise you not to think too deeply about what you see here.
Too late, I think. Oh, he's back to being a waxwork, is he? What do you mean by temporary waxwork, Mr. Sholmes?
Exactly what you see. I'm part of the exhibits here, catching these criminals in the act.
Catching them?
Every half hour, I come in on a different killer in one of the displays and adopt a new pose to ensnare him. When members of the public come for a closer look, I offer them my hand to shake. For a shilling, I'll happily allow them to take a photo with us.
Us? Does he mean him with the waxwork murderers in here? But why, Mr. Sholmes?
My dear fellow, isn't it obvious? For the money.
He really roared at me there. Very fitting for the House of Horrors.
As it stands, I may struggle to pay this month's rent, and I have the ravenous iris to consider.
Oh, Hurley, I'm so hungry.
If push comes to shove, I shall have to ask you to do your bit, Mr. Naruhodo.
What's he threatening to rope me into now?
So, with that in mind, how about a photograph?
I'm half expecting him to ask Naruhodo to be also a wax figure. Pretend to be one.
As a special treat, you may have your pick of the murderers and scoundrels in here. The choice is yours.
Maybe some other time.
Remember, Mr. Naruhodo, ignore me at your peril.
Yeah! Would you rather I kick you instead? Back to being a waxwork again. Is it just me, or did his final remark there sound a lot like a curse? Naruhodo loves his food, and I feel him. He's a foodie.
Well, what is it you'd like to ask me then?
Actually, it's about Lord Van Zieks.
Ah, our friend Mr. Reaper. How did you find him? Well, I trust.
Fade to black explanation. And so I filled Mr. Sholmes in about everything I'd learned. about Lord Van Zieks, about Professor Hairbrain, and about the strange coincidence that they had been at the university together. At university. I guess it's a British thing where they don't add the "the" at certain parts. So, but my mind just automatically adds the "the" there. They always say at university, at Wax Museum, at Baker Street. Never adds the "the" in there. It's interesting. So I'm wondering what it was that happened to make Lord Van Zieks such a different person.
I was sure that you know, Hurley.
You said there was something going on here in this exhibit hall before, that something was afoot, and that you believe it was related to what I wanted to ask you about. Mr. Sholmes? He suddenly clammed up. Well, it seems we've reached the end of... Greetings! Oh, she's got a good theme too. Hi, Suki! Hello! Where did she appear from? And what she's wearing? Could she look even any more mysterious? I hoped you are appreciating my museum. Sorry, have we? Mr. Sholmes, do you know this? Not again. My apologies. I'm Esmeralda Tusspells. Oh wow, they completely changed her name. She was like Cornet Rozak in Japanese. They just completely changed it. This is my museum of waxwork. What? You're the Madame Tusspells? Bien sûr. Though only 26 years young, I might add. Is that significant somehow? I am Madame in the name only. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi. Oh no, she speaks French. Of course, I should expect that, but also I don't know French. Right. Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks, or rather, one waxworks in particular. That'll be Mr. Sholmes then. Got scared of the chicken? God. Yeah, it's definitely a reference to Toussaint. When I went through this with the Japanese version, my friend also slightly changed her from her Japanese name. So her Japanese name is Cornet Rozak. My friend, when she did the translation, I did the reading, she changed it to Rousat, which is kind of close to Toussaint, so we made a reference to that. And I'm assuming they're doing the same with Tusspells, except they got rid of the Toussaint part.
I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. Next time you move from your designated exhibit, will be toil and trouble.
Oh! Boil and trouble. Toil and trouble. Oh. They are really playing up her witchiness.
She sounds deadly serious.
That's a problem. How am I supposed to ask Mr. Sholmes about Lord Van Zieks now?
Let's not forget what Hurley said before, about something being afoot. Right here in the museum, I mean.
Yes, I know, but...
I'm so curious. I want to know what is happening here.
Haven't we got enough on our plate already? I haven't passed it. Are you talking about my translator that did, like, the DGS for my LP? I haven't asked her on it yet. Anyway, what am I doing? Presenting the armband. Presenting the armband! Madam, there's something I'd like to show you.
Yes. What is it?
I remarked on it to myself immediately, and I've been very curious since. Well, it's actually the mark of a defense lawyer in the Empire of Japan.
Oh, quel dommage.
Not quite as interesting as I hoped. What exactly were you expecting from an armband? Did you make all these waxworks, Madame Tusspells?
I did. I am the third generation of waxwork artisans, you know. gosh! It was my grandmother who began the tradition in my family. Her fortunes were secured, living through the turbulent times of the French Revolution as she did. Though that is when she acquired the savior fair that leads the astonishing lifelikeness. All these waxers really do look as though they're alive. In fact, they look more alive than Hurley. What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminals' past. All the waxworks were created in the presence of the real people on which they were modeled, in the hours immediately following their executions. That is the secret to the extraordinary lifelikeness.
That sounds terrifying.
All walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. No, to carry out one's trade par excellence, one must go to extraordinary lengths. My exhibits use a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see.
Ugh. Why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying?
Do not fear. Sorry? This room is the only one in the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you'll explore. There are models of famous singers, actors, politicians. Something for every taste. I hope.
It was Iris who dragged me straight in here, come to think of it.
Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things.
Immediately scares him. What's the situation with that?
Ah, my temporary waxwork model. He approached me some days ago, you see, with a business proposal.
Oh, what sort of proposal?
My dear madam, what these sparse exhibits need is the addition of a world-famous great detective.
Or words to that effect. Naturally, I am well aware that Mr. Sholmes is widely known in London as a talented detective.
It's great detective, actually. He's very specific about it.
Oh yes, the creme de la creme. So I was keen to come to some arrangement with them, of course. But sadly, we were unable to agree terms.
Let me guess. Someone wanted to charge an exorbitant price for his services.
For a mere £500. I will dive into your cauldron of wax this very moment. No!
Or words to that effect.
Mr. Sholmes might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch.
Regrettably, this museum has a shortage of funds at the moment due to unforeseen circumstances.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how to make a French accent, and right now I'm not doing it.
So we came to the current arrangement instead.
Surely he doesn't really need to do what he's doing, though, does he?
I would think not, but he's very insistent.
I have a 50-shilling problem that must be resolved by the morning.
Or words to that effect.
It's the pawnbroker, that's what it is. He must have something to redeem.
Is the consulting detective working not going so well? Work?
Something afoot.
I wonder, could I ask you something?
Bien sûr.
I'm just curious, is anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps? That is yes!
Whoever suggested such a thing to you?
Oh, well, it was your temporary waxwork over there who mentioned it me a little. Oh, he's disappeared.
A wax model is a work of art, not some tawdry object for trade.
There you are!
Leaving the exhibit again when you should be working. Do you wish to be melted down?
My dear Madame Tusspells, save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. It's our ideas about your current problem we must throw into the melting pot instead. Personally, I would advise you not to involve the police. Why ever not? She's turned as white as sheet. Because you have at your disposal a great detective whose services you may employ for a mere 50 shillings. Though please be aware that I prefer... No, I insist upon payment in advance. Very well. Let us see if this great detective is able to live up to his name, shall we? Before I engage my analytical processes, I must ask you to clarify something. What pray is behind the curtain? That is the Tusspells special exhibit. There is an extra charge to see it. Ah, the special exhibit in the House of Horrors. It must depict a serial killer then, I presume. Would you be so kind as to draw back the curtain, I wonder? Absolutely none. There is nothing amiss behind there. Nothing amiss, madam. What about the arm protruding ominously from under the curtain? I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond before the situation worsens. Yes, very well. I will draw back the curtains, but only a sukon. Sukon. Oh wow, I can actually see... I can see the number 139. Huh. I must confess, I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The Tusspells special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. And yet, somewhat surprisingly, the Waxwork killer one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however, is the portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor. He's a juror. It's the motto of the juror, one of the jurors. Soupçon. Okay. Well then perhaps, Mr. Sholmes, that man on the floor is the ruthless killer himself. I'm afraid not, my dear fellow. He's a perfectly ordinary London gentleman. Not even waxwork, I'm afraid. What? Why is he on the ground? As skillfully made as these waxworks are, they are always distinguishable from real humans. So, allow me to present my two conclusions. The first is that a sizable business transaction has been taking place in this special exhibit. Why would you say that? And the second is that the affirmation transaction is linked to a serious crime. She looks as pale as candle wax. I don't understand. So, Madame Tusspells, as you've agreed to my fee, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Here we go! Do 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 do. Waxwork's fate. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some £200. That is all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it seems, Madame Tusspells. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the £200 is revealed by this public notice. Waxwork for sale. Your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold in the infamous killer, the centerpiece of your special exhibit, for the sum of £200. Non! Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Also, Tusspells looks gorgeous in HD, can I just say that? Who is this portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor, making no shadows on the ground? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock. the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the 200 pounds. It would appear that you twisted this gentleman around with your little finger most effectively. What are you suggesting? He rashly agreed to purchase the waxwork for the sum of 200 pounds. Only when he came to hand the money over, did it occur to him what an extraordinate amount he was paying. But the money was no longer in his hands. And the result? The scene we see before us. He collapsed in shock.
Yeah, definitely what happened.
Yes, the killer in this special exhibit fetched a killer price. We can only pray that the gentleman's dreams are not plagued with regret.
Sold for cash. Okay.
The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let's consider that problem for a moment. You cannot possibly. What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief. Such as is worn by the policeman as a secret agent to fellow members of the forces that a crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is an undercover policeman, currently investigating this museum. I think he's actually a wax figure, but sure. I know him well, in fact. It's Sergeant John Clay.
John Clay.
What are you talking about? The man's quite a celebrity. He received triple accolades at last year's policing awards. But... Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage, and he's wearing
A scarf, a very familiar scarf.
I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle. Almost, in fact, as if he were a waxwork. But you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madam. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is waxwork is the obvious price tag. Threepence. A tragically low price, you might say. Though perhaps the going rate for aging waxworks riddled with cracks. And yet you sold it to a portly gentleman for an exorbitant 200 pounds. The sort of plucky behavior that's sure to attract attention of Scotland Yard. Isn't that so, madam? I do not... Yes, the waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police and remains in their custody as we speak. The old man must be reunited with his grave in the special exhibit, and not a moment too soon.
Okay, Holmes. Discovered already. No. I don't know. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Detective. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle.
I'm sorry to say, but it's still a puzzle. Me too, Naruhodo. Yep, she's ready to wax him.
I see I've stunned you all into silence. You have, Hurley, you have. And you've obviously upset this young lady in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot.
If I could just bring up one point, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, the notorious Naruhodo 1 point. I am all ears, my dear fellow.
According to your deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So that would mean that he's the particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it?
The killer policeman, Ottermole. Sorry? It was a mysterious series of murders that rattled the capital only last year. The police rushed to the scene every time, only to find the culprit had disappeared into the ether. And it turned out the culprit was a policeman himself, a senior officer by the name of Ottermole.
So you mean that that's who the sinister-looking old man there's supposed to be?
Indeed. It is particularly grim-faced, is it not? Unforgivable, in fact. Yes, I remember that odious continence only too well.
But is 200 pounds a lot of money for a wax model?
It would be enough to afford one of the latest steam carriages if that puts things in perspective.
So it is quite a lot then. Is there anything else you wish to add? Before I melt you down. That bubbling wax is looking more and more ominous.
Oh, the smell of that molten wax is starting to worry me.
Mr. Sholmes did more or less just accuse her to her face, so I think I might have to call on your assistance here, Iris, if that's alright. Iris is joining in to make some minor corrections to the Great Detective's great deductions.
Of course, it's alright. We'll soon set things straight.
Well, let's get started then, shall we? Before Madame Tusspells vents her anger.
Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madame Tusspells, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Again.
With a little help from a lawyer. I'm gonna get a drink of water.
To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. In my estimation, some 200 pounds.
That is all my own money.
So what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Tusspells. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that public notice.
She definitely looked in this direction, it's true.
But I'm not sure she sold any of her waxworks, even for 200 pounds.
Oh?
She must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax. If it were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything.
For that much money, I would. But it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway, I wonder if the 200 pounds could have some other significance. Well, I mean, you are a college student, Naruhodo. Money sounds nice to you, regardless.
Let's follow that furtive glance again and see if there's anything else that could explain it.
Waxwork for sale. Would anyone really buy models of mass murderers?
I think I'd rather have 200 pounds in my pocket.
Exactly. You could buy one of those brand new types of steam carriage. That's what I'd spend it on if I had it, no question.
Ooh, I'd buy all the herbs in the world.
There must be another explanation for the money. We need to keep looking. Believe it's somewhere in here.
What's that note doing pinned on the wall there?
Oh yes, let's see. Dear Madame Tusspells, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is 200 pounds. Have the money ready by noon on 23rd October. What? This is... It's just like the sort of thing that's left behind when someone is kidnapped. A ransom note?
Yes, it's a ransom note.
Exactly. Well then, I think I know what the problem is. Let's give that.
Take that!
The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that ransom note.
Quite so, and we must congratulate these criminals on their invested inventiveness, abducting a waxwork. 200 pounds is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it.
The model in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have.
In summary, then, the 200 pounds you have in your handbag is ransom money. Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is this portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? Who indeed? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, and the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the 200 pounds.
Yeah, sure. So if the Waxwork was kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who this man is?
We could just ask him when he comes around.
I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris.
Yes, you're right. Harry's trying so hard. We mustn't let him down.
Well, there's little doubt that he suffered a shock. That much seems clear. But in that case, what's Madame Tusspells trying to hide? Let's have a closer look around.
This is just Madame Tussaud's right hand, isn't it?
Yes, it must be. I can clearly see her left hand after all.
Oh, but wait a minute. This is the left hand as well, look.
Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please.
And it seems very stiff, too. In fact, it's really hard.
You mean it's made of wax? How about we present that?
Take that!
God, I love these things. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand.
Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow.
How could you? She's cursed. The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. It ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals that it's a left hand.
And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madam. It is the hand of the waxwork model.
Well, hello there.
Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage.
So you mean that arm?
Yes, this gentleman saw fit to try to remove it as a souvenir.
No small keepsake. Wow. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms.
I'm afraid I had to teach the man a lesson.
Understandable. You confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. And the result? The scene we see before us, he was knocked unconscious.
A point we may need to revisit later, but for the time being, we have our conclusion. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit has been kidnapped.
Somebody really wanted this particular one. Kidnapped. Dear old Jura 1.
The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider the problem for a moment. You cannot possibly... What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only to observe his neckerchief.
According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that some crime is underway.
A way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity, yes. It's a secret that's closely guarded by Scotland Yard.
That Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away.
Well, uncovering secrets is any true detective's nature, of course.
Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tusspells' reaction to Mr. Sholmes' seduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. Hello. What the? The man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm would be.
Ah, well that settles that then.
Right, this isn't a real person at all.
His entire arm's been ripped off, from the shoulder down.
His arm's been... Of course. That ties in with what we just found out.
Take that!
Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only to observe his shoulder stub.
No such boneless human walks this earth. Of that I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact defying all odds, a Waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes. He has become quite the celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man. Naturally, what other explanation could there be? And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it? Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with the particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle, almost in fact as if he were a waxwork. But you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madam. I noticed it at once, of course. Observed. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. A killer policeman called Outermole, was it? Was he well known?
It was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's a very low price, though. 2p isn't much money.
Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garrett's delightful lodgings, in fact. So this is the special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? The waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for £200. Is this crusty old killer policeman, Outermole? Really?
Perhaps we should have a good look around again and see if another idea crops up.
Well, he definitely has restless leg syndrome, because I feel that. Look at this! The old man's tapping his foot like crazy.
He seems to be fast asleep, though.
He's not tapping his foot consciously, then. So you mean it must be a twitch?
Never mind that. The point is, waxworks don't tap their feet. Or twitch.
And look at his arm, too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we?
Take that!
Crusty. I know, right? He's like crusty. This poor old man. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this man is waxwork is the obvious twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, this splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives, then. And there you have it. Well, Madam Tusspells?
Well, what?
Yeah, the stepladder is actually in the Wax Museum.
It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place.
I've already done the first part of it. He is clearly fatigued and is sound asleep. But then, what's this tag about showing a price of 3p? No doubt the price tag of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. And I presume you've observed the scarf tied around his arm. Does that strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway. Well, it's not so much a secret when everybody knows.
Of course, because as you know, there has been such criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, Detective.
So, it would seem that we finally arrived at the truth. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard are already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. So the wax model is still missing. Still a mystery. Okay, this is spooky. Unsolved mysteries. Boo doo 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 doo. Doo 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 doo. All sorts of people visit my museum here. Men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly.
Anyway. Oh, I love this. Very nice.
Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe. What a dance!
It was a pleasure, my dear madam. I'm grateful that you enjoyed the spectacle. And as for your rough customer, I have no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuinely abducted. The truth is out there!
Yes, tragically it was.
Then I would ask you to recount to us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork. In as much detail as possible, if you please.
Very well. But after I've told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work.
The talents of the great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. Hey man, you want money, so. Stepladder is over here. I don't know if I've already examined it, but you have to examine it while Iris is here. That's the first step. This is the only stepladder that you can examine. This is the only ladder you need to do. So, after the first trial, you come back here again and you interact with the stepladder when you have Susato again. Let's talk. Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please. Oh, jeez.
It was some days ago now when I came in here one morning. I immediately noticed that a waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here. It is your most prominent display, so that's why the curtains were closed.
And I found the ransom note in its place. The culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then. There you go.
So this waxwork that was stolen, it was a model of some horrible criminal, I suppose.
Of a particular horrible crime, in fact. The killer who left a more profound scar on society than any other, I would say. The Professor. Not a name I've heard of. But you have heard a password. So, Mr. Naruhodo, it seems the circle is complete. Sorry?
The Professor case happened at around the time I was born. Didn't it?
Indeed it did, Iris. 10 years ago, a series of murders that rocked the capital. 10 years ago. Yes, at exactly the time. That Baroque Van Zieks graduated from university, in fact. What? Surely he's not saying, the professor's out there.
So the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life.
As you surmised, it was the Professor case. Who was the Professor then?
It was a series of gruesome murders that had all of London gripped in a terror. A decade ago, after 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death. And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy.
Though, of course, he happens to be absent at present, on account of the abduction. But I don't understand. How is all this related to Lord Van Zieks? You must first understand, my dear fellow, why it is that the Professor earned such infamy. It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest.
What do you mean, Hurley?
Those murdered by the Professor were some of the highest members of the British aristocracy, members of the nobility, even royalty, and sent shockwaves through the country's administration. Members of the... wait, of course! What Professor Harebrained said. Lord Van Zieks is from a family with noble blood.
Oh, gosh!
It was the 5th victim that led the professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of Clint van Zieks. Hello! Hallelujah! It's no more Crimmit, no more Kermit, no more Clints. We finally got one. It's now established that it's Clint. Holy crap. Remember that big old... Oh my god. It was such a struggle to figure out how to pronounce his name. No. I don't believe it. Van Zieks? Press F for Kermit Van Zieks. He is no longer a thing. I'm sure you can piece together the rest for yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, the young Baroque pursued a career as a prosecutor. And eventually became the Reaper we know today. I had no idea Lord Van Zieks had such a tragic past. Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter, for the time being at least. After all, I have work to do. As a Waxworks exhibit. Ooh, I'm just happy we can finally establish a proper way to pronounce his name. I'm afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well. Oh, yes, of course. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.